Hey guys, welcome back. This is the July free trade portfolio update. As I do in all of my videos, this will be a transparent look at my portfolios, looking at how they're performing and going through any things I've been buying or selling in the past month. As always, make sure you like and subscribe, and please remember this is not financial advice, so please do your own due diligence and don't buy or sell stocks based on anything you see in this video. Jumping into the stocks and shares ISA, so the current value of this account is £32,508, and the overall portfolio is down by £1,891. I did put another £1,000 cash into this account. I'll probably continue to do so until I reach the £20,000 limit of this financial year. Looking at the monthly chart of this portfolio, it's been fairly positive. So you can see from this chart, it's had a nice trend upwards. Around a month ago, the portfolio was sitting around the £28,000 mark, and it's had a sort of volatile month, but trending upwards all the way up to £32,500. Going forward, what I want to start doing with these videos is actually comparing the performance of my portfolio to the market. So Freetrade mobile app actually allows you to compare your performance to the FTSE All-World ETF. The reason I want to start doing this is a lot of the advice for beginners is actually to invest in the S&P 500, whether that's lump sum or dollar cost average, or lump sum or dollar cost average into the FTSE All-World ETF. Well, I think that's pretty solid advice, and most people aren't going to outperform that. So I'll be interested to see, based on my research, my picks, whether I'm able to outperform those ETFs. Looking at this screenshot, this shows the monthly portfolio performance of my stock and shares ISA versus the FTSE All-World ETF. My portfolio is up by 11.47% in comparison to the 6.11% of the FTSE All-World ETF. Looking at the maximum chart, so I actually started investing in December of last year. You can see my portfolio is down by 5.24%, which is beating the FTSE All-World of minus 6.72%. As you can see from the chart, my portfolio is more volatile than the ETF. It depends if you have a risk on market, and also my portfolio is actually quite heavily weighted in Palantir. So depending on how Palantir is doing can actually skew these results a fair bit. Looking at the individual positions in my portfolio, the top holding is Palantir, sitting at £13,105. It is down by 2.66%. It was green at one point, but I'm not really concerned with the sort of day-to-day, month-to-month movement in this stock, given I'm planning to hold it for the next 10 to 20 years. It's a stock I've got good conviction in. I put another £600 to £700 into this position. I do like the financials of this company. They've got virtually no debt, growing very rapidly in the commercial space. They've got good steady growth in the government space, and I think they'll continue to do so. And I'm interested to see how their earnings come out in the next month. Looking at the monthly chart, very volatile. We've got a low of $8.90 and a high of $10.49. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if this comes down to the $7, $6 range. If it does, I'll continue to dollar cost average in and maybe even buy more heavily. So I've got a total number of shares of 1,601. The average price per share is £8.40, which is about, I think, 5 pence less than last month. I'm currently at a loss of £358. Next up, we have the two ETFs. We got the Vanguard FTSE All-World ETF sitting at £6,535, and the Nasdaq 100 sitting at £1,522. No change to positions, but they have clawed back some of their losses. Remember, the Nasdaq being down probably about 15 to 20% of its portfolio, so it's good to see the closing of the gap and sort of moving towards break even. Tesla's actually up 10%. I think they had a decent earnings. I think people were thinking the earnings were going to be a lot worse than they were, so it had a nice bump up, and I'm currently up 10.84%. Next up, we got the three tech giants. Again, no changes in any of these positions. Microsoft in the green, and Alphabet and Meta still in the red. Next up, S&P 500, moving towards the green, which is always nice, but no change in position of this. Next up is Boohoo, still quite heavily in the red, and one of the biggest losses in my portfolio, sitting at £656 and currently down about 38%. Looking at the monthly chart for this, I mean, it's been pretty much a falling knife for the past year. It was sitting around sort of the near the £3 mark, and it's sort of been trending down ever since. Since it was in the low 50 pence range, I actually put another £50 into this position. And what I realized is when a position is down quite a lot, down 40+%, even if you buy a small position to dollar cost average in, it does move the average price per share down a fair bit. So the last video, the average price per share was sitting around 1.10, and just putting in another £50 has brought it down another 5 pence to £1.05. I'm currently gonna just hold this position, but if it does fall down to the low 50s and 40 pence range, I may be tempted to put in another £50 to £100 just to bring down that average price per share. Next up, we have the two financial plays. We've got PayPal and SoFi, still heavily in the red. We've got Intel sitting at £341, down minus 1.12%. AMD, so this was actually falling very heavily last month. It was down by about minus 20%, so I couldn't resist and putting another £100 into this stock, just to bring down that average price per share. We've got Alibaba, Chinese stocks, again, very volatile, very risky. It was up quite heavily in the green last month, but it's sort of come back down, but I'm still in the green by 1.59%. A new position in my stock and shares ISA is Cleveland-Cliffs. So this is a steel company in America. The overall position is £112 and it's up 2.7%. And the reason I bought this is I do want a bit more diversification in my portfolio. It is quite heavily weighted in tech companies. I do have the ETFs, which does give me diversification, but I do want to buy individual stocks in other sectors outside of technology. This company, when I did my research, had what I think is good management. I think it is fairly valued, and I think it will force me to actually learn more about commodities going forward. And the actually earnings for this company actually came out on Friday this week, so I'll be diving deeper into that. If I'm impressed with what I hear, if I think the company's heading in a good direction, I will continue to invest in this company going forward. The other new position in my portfolio is S4 Capital. So this is a UK-based digital marketing and advertising company. I've only put in about £50 into this, and to be honest, it is a bit of a punt, a bit of a growth play in this portfolio. Looking at the maximum chart, it's had an interesting journey where it started off around the £1.12 range, all the way up to the £8 range, and then back down to the £1 range. So I think it is a company that has potential. There is a lot of growth with this. They are acquiring a lot of companies, but I think there is a risk when it comes to how it's going to perform if there is a recession. And as there is also some concerns with the profitability and the margins of this company. But it is a punt. It's one I'm planning to hold for the next 5 to 10 years. And I probably will dollar cost average in and wouldn't be surprised if it drops down below the £1 range. Moving on to the general investment account, the value of this is £5,639 and it is in the green by £139. Looking at the monthly chart, it's had a nice move upwards, but the massive jump here is when I put in another £1,000 cash into this account. Similar to the stocks and shares ISA, I plan to put in another £1,000 into this account until the end of the year. Comparing the general investment account to the FTSE All World ETF, On a monthly chart, I'm actually underperforming by about 2 to 3%. However, looking at the maximum chart, I'm actually outperforming around 9 to 10%. However, the results are slightly skewed because I actually started investing in this account in about February when stocks were actually beaten down a bit more. And this chart actually starts in the 29th of December, which is actually when I opened up my overall Freetrade account. Looking at the individual positions in this portfolio, the S&P 500 is at the top, sitting at £1,263. It is up by 0.66%. This is going to continue to be one of the larger holdings in this portfolio, and I did buy another share or two in the last month. Next up, we have Alphabet or Google. I did invest quite heavily into this actually this month. I think this is a company which is now trading at quite a fair valuation. So I did invest another £300 into this position. It's now sitting at £779.80. NEO is actually sitting at £702.95. This was quite heavily in the green in the last update, and it's had quite a fall down, and now it's sitting at minus 2.61%. The next sort of four positions, I've just sort of chipped away and added a bit more into each one of these. Meta, I think I put about £200, and the rest between £1 to £150. I think these are a fairly safe plays going forward. I'll continue to dollar cost average in, regardless of if the market goes up, if the market goes down. I will continue to buy. Another new position in my portfolio was Oatly. So I put £100 into this. Unfortunately, Freetrade does not allow you to buy this as part of your ISA, so that's why it's in my general investment account. It's one of the, again, smaller cap stocks, a bit more of a risky play, but it's been absolutely beaten down in the past year. That does not mean it can fall any further, but it's a risk I'm willing to take, and I think there is some good upside with this company. Lastly, the other new position in my portfolio is JP Morgan. I actually put £50 into this when it was beaten down after its earnings and was down about 5%. Looking at the yearly chart, as with probably most other stocks, everything's beaten down. There's so many good deals out there in the market. I'm struggling to decide what to buy, but for me, this is a good long-term hold. I think it's got some good upside, but we'll see how this progresses moving forward. So that concludes the July portfolio update. I've actually also started a crypto portfolio in Coinbase. If that's something you guys are interested in looking at or want me to include as part of these portfolio updates, please let me know in the comment section below and I'll be happy to do so. But we'll end it there. Hopefully you found it interesting and catch you in the next one.